2022 ਦਾ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਸਭਾ ਰਿਚਰਡਸਨ ਦਾ ਸ਼ੁਰੂ ਕਰਨ ਜਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਤੇ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਅਸੀਂ 4th ਗਰੁੱਪ ਨੂੰ ਜੱਜ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ 4th ਗਰੁੱਪ ਦਾ ਕੰਪੀਟੀਸ਼ਨ ਹੋਣਾ ਹੈ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦੀ ਉਮਰ 14 ਤੋਂ 17 ਸਾਲ ਦੀ ਹੈ and there are a couple of things for judges and couple of things for sangat and the participants. So participants, one thing for sure that your timing is 7 minutes, okay? So first bell will be at 6 minutes 30 seconds, second bell will be at 7 minutes, and the third bell will be at 7 minutes 30 seconds. No points will be taken away until then. But if you keep going after that, that is when we will take away the points. Judges, you don't have to worry about it. The timekeeper is going to give us the time, and we will do when we calculate it here. So that's nothing with you. And even if there is a kid who speaks in Punjabi or English, make sure that is none of your concern for judges. Only thing is the timekeeper will write to us that this person spoke in Punjabi and there is a $25 gift for that. But remember again, the participants, the speech should be at least 50% or more than that in Punjabi. So we can give you that Punjabi participation gift. And then with the participants, I would like to know the name. I know Joban Singh is here, I can see you. Anup Singh, I don't think so. Noorpreet Kaur, yes. Nehmat Kaur, Avleen Kaur, I don't think she's coming. Ishmeet Singh, Amrik Singh, I see you. Sahaj Kaur, okay, I see you. Harkeet Singh, Teg Singh, I don't think so. 2, 3, 5, 6. So just to tell the parents, I know I'm not telling you something that you might not have heard before. There were 10 participants, and we were thinking 8 are coming. Then we thought 7 are coming, and now it's gone to 6, right? That does not matter to us, it's okay, but think about it. If the 7th person would have come today, I would have sent 2 people, first and second position, to the regional. So sometimes their participation by just saying few lines here is so important. And this group is the group who are going to go to college. They're going to take lots of things in their life and register themselves. If they start falling like that and they think they can do that at the last minute, it's not a good teaching. I'm telling you from my experience. I have suffered with that, suffered in the sense if they registered, they are going to do it no matter what. And yesterday it was such a cute situation. They are the younger kids. So we had 32 kids in first group. And 24th kid, it took us 3 times to bring him to the podium, and I was so insistent because ਮੈਨੂੰ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ 4 ਬੱਚੇ ਅੱਗੇ ਜਾ ਸਕਣ ਅਗਰ 24 ਹੋ ਜਾਣਗੇ ਤਾਂ 4 ਬੱਚੇ ਰੀਜਨਲ 'ਚ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੇ ਨੇ and that kid did come and say the name and that kind of qualified us. So please, my heart is already broken that there will be only one person going to the regional out of this group, but that's okay. If that's the way hukam is, we have to accept the hukam. The other thing is, don't worry about the time, judges. Timekeeper will take care of it. Comments, please, please, please. We have talked to you about the comments a lot. And do not leave any column empty. Always fill it up. Don't add any marks. We will add it here. And when you are done, we will try to give you 1 to 2 minutes, actually 2 minutes, close to that we go for your comments. I know that's not enough, but still we will try to give you 2 minutes. Please write the comments. You can imagine from first, second, third group, I have gotten so many calls this morning. I feel comfortable when I have comments to tell them why they got what they got. And like we said, no adding of the scores. And please, extra pages are in your folders. You can write more comments there. And Sangat vaste hai ki no jaikara after any individual speech, because we want, we will do the jaikara by the end of the speech. We don't want judges getting influenced by, this must be really a good speech, or vice versa. Or the kid might be thinking, I did the best, nobody else can beat me now, I will have a position. So that's the only reason we want to do one jaikara in the end. And please keep your phones on vibration. No matter how hard you try, sometimes I made a mistake for a second yesterday that my phone started ringing. So please keep it on vibration. And if anybody around you is still is talking or saying anything to each other, please, as a Sangat member, tell them to be quiet, because we want to hear what these kids want to say about this book. And this book is a great book. So I'm going to go over the questions are already here for the Sangat. And one more rule is that there is a gatekeeper there. She will allow people coming in and out only when there is no speech going on. When there is a speech going on, whoever is outside will stay outside. Whoever is inside will stay inside. We don't want these speeches to be affected by that. And now the book for this group, 14 to 17 years old, The Valiant Jaswant Singh Kalra. For Sangat, we do have these questions over there. Okay, so make sure that if you are listening to this speech, the kids are answering those questions. And for also participants, your speech can be great, but if you did not touch the answers to these questions that we specifically asked you on this book, that's where your points go away. So please be patient with that, because whenever you are going to call me, I will tell you what the judges said. So the first question is, Jaswant Singh Kalra was born into a newly partitioned Punjab after an arduous fight for freedom that left many families suffering through separation and poverty. Many of his own family members made great sacrifices for the Sikh community. Describe how the stories that he heard from his Bapuji and the struggles he witnessed during childhood inspired him to commit his life to seeking justice for the Sikh Qaum. Second, and that's a 20 marks. Second question, the Indian government went to great lengths to weaken the economic, social, and moral fabric of Punjab by way of federally instituted policies. Explain how these policies and the resultant geopolitical landscape set the stage for the various Sikh movements discussed in the book to gain momentum. Number 3, the Sikh people have a long-standing history of fighting injustice and championing social rights even in the face of incredible odds. What relationships can you draw between the issues and the circumstances that laid the foundation for the Sikh movements discussed in the book and those that led to the recent Indian farmers' protest? What lessons can we learn from the challenges and successes of the farmers' protest to help prepare our global Sikh community for any attacks on our rights and liberties in future? So these are the questions, and we have 3 judges here. Jupin Kaur, she is sitting on the side, and Tejpal Kaur, Penji, and Jaspal Kaur. So these are all 3 judges. Thank you so much for reading these books and preparing as much as you are prepared, the participants are preparing. So first name I'm going to pick up from this little bag. Hold on. The first participant is Amrik Singh.
हाँ जी
अमरीक सिंह जजेस।
सूरा सो पहचानिए जो लड़े दीन के हेत, पुरजा पुरजा कट मरे कभू ना छाड़े खेत। गुरु प्यारी गुरु सवारी गुरु जी दा अपना आपा साध संगत जी गज के फतेह दी सांझ पाओ। वाहिगुरु जी का खालसा वाहिगुरु जी की फतेह। आज मैं तुहानू उस शख्सियत बारे चानना पाउण जा रहा हाँ जिसने अपनी जिंदड़ी सिख कौम दे लिखे ला दिती सी। की तुसीं उन्हां तो वाकिफ हो? जी हाँ, उस मरजीवड़े का नाम है सरदार जसवंत सिंह खालड़ा। उन्हां दा जन्म उस जरखेज धरती ते होया जिसका निग सूरमिया अते बहादुरां ने मानिया। बचपन विच माई भागो भाई तारू सिंह अते भगत सिंह दियां गाथावां सुन के उन्हां विच सूरबीरता अते कौम प्रति जज्बा उजागर होया। जिन्हां दे वड्डे वडेरे गदर लहर अते बंदा सिंह बहादुर दी फौज विच अन्याय दे खिलाफ लड़दे रहे। उन्हां दे खून विच बदोबदी सरकारी अत्याचार विरुद्ध आवाज बुलंद करनी लाजमी ही सी। भाई खालड़ा जी बचपन तो ही अन्याय दे खिलाफ लड़दे रहे, भावें स्कूल विच होंदे कमजोरां ते अत्याचार लई होवे ते जां भावें पिंड दे किसानां दे हक्कां विच आड़तियां खिलाफ होवे। इसलिए उन्हां नूं बचपन विच ही साडा लीडर कहण दा रुतबा प्राप्त होया। उन्हां नूं इस गल ते विश्वास सी जे किसी एक बंदे दे हक खोले जाण फिर बाकी सारियां दे हक्कां नूं भी खतरा है। इसलिए उन्हां ने अन्याय खिलाफ लड़न नूं अपना मंतव बना लिया सी। 80-90 दे दहाके दौरान वीरान होए पंजाब जिसकी बुक्कल विचों पर जोबिन विच आए गबरूआं नूं तसीहे दे के अते को के मारिया गया अते लवारिस कह के सच नूं दफनाउण दी कोशिश की गई। भाई खालड़ा जी ने उस पंजाब नूं सूरज दी किरण वांग एक नवी आस दिखाई। गुरु नानक साहिब जी अहमदाबाद जाके बाबर नूं ललकार देने उन्हां दे ही नक्शे कदमां विच चलदियां भाई खालड़ा जी समय दे हाकम KPS गिल नूं वंगार देने 25,000 लाशां नूं इंसाफ दे दर ते दस्तक देण वाला मसीहा आप खुद उस अंकड़ियां दे एक दा वादा कर गया। आओ हुण आपां दूजे सवाल नूं विचारीए। भारत भावें फरंगियां तो आजाद हो गया सी पर पंजाबी अते सिख अजे भी गुलामी दियां भेड़ियां विच जकड़े होए सी। भावें सारे सूबियां नूं बोली दे आधार ते तरजीह दित्ती गई सी पर उस वेले भी पंजाबी बोली नाल सौतेले बच्चे वांगू वितकरा किया गया। फिर उस तो पंजाबी सूबे की लहर ने जन्म लिया। गल इत्थे ही खत्म नहीं हुंदी। पंजाब नूं खोखला करन लई पंजाब दे टोटे टोटे कीते गए, पंजाब दे पानी ते डाका मारिया गया, स्कूलों तो वध शराब दे ठेके खोल दिते गए अते डेरावाद नूं बुलावा दिता गया। इस सब कुछ नूं देखदिआं पंजाब नूं एहसास हो गया कि उसकी होंद खतरे विच है ते आनंदपुर साहिब दे मते नूं यकीनी बनाउण लई यतनशील होना जरूरी है। सरकार ने पंजाब नूं ही नहीं सगों हुण तां गुरु ग्रंथ साहिब जी नूं भी एक निशाना बना लिया सी। सिੱਖੀ ਨੂੰ ਢਾਹ ਲਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਨਿਰੰਕਾਰੀਆਂ ਦੇ ਦੁਆਰਾ ਇੱਕ ਕੋਝੀ ਸਾਜ਼ਿਸ਼ ਰਚੀ ਗਈ। ਨਿਰੰਕਾਰੀ ਸਿੱਖੀ ਨੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਗ੍ਰੰਥ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਬਰਾਬਰਤਾ ਕਰਕੇ ਅੰਮ੍ਰਿਤਸਰ ਦੀ ਧਰਤੀ ਤੇ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਲਲਕਾਰਿਆ। ਉਸ ਨੇ ਸ਼ਾਂਤਮਈ ਢੰਗ ਨਾਲ ਸਮਝਾਉਣਗੇ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਗੋਲੀਆਂ ਵਰਾ ਕੇ ਮੌਤ ਦੇ ਘਾਟ ਉਤਾਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ। ਇਸ ਕਾਂਡ ਨੇ ਧਰਮ ਯੁੱਧ ਮੋਰਚੇ ਦਾ ਬੀਜ ਬੀਜਿਆ। ਪੰਜਾਬ ਨੂੰ ਇਸ ਦਲਦਲ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਕੱਢਣ ਲਈ ਇੱਕ ਸੁਰਖਰੂ ਆਗੂ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਦਾ ਨਾਮ ਹੈ ਸੰਤ ਜਰਨੈਲ ਸਿੰਘ ਜੀ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਪਿੰਡਰਾਂ ਵਾਲੇ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਬੇਦਾਗ ਅਤੇ ਇਮਾਨਦਾਰ ਸ਼ਖਸੀਅਤ ਨੇ ਲੱਖਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਪ੍ਰਭਾਵਿਤ ਕੀਤਾ ਅਤੇ ਧਰਮ ਪ੍ਰਤੀ ਵਫਾ ਜਗਾਈ। ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਚੜ੍ਹਤ ਨਾ ਸਹਾਰਦਿਆਂ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਨੇ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਦੀ ਮੁਕੱਦਸ ਸਥਾਨ ਸ੍ਰੀ ਹਰਿਮੰਦਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਅਤੇ 37 ਹੋਰ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਿਆਂ ਤੇ ਹਮਲਾ ਕੀਤਾ। ਇਸ ਸਾਕੇ ਨੇ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਪਣੇ ਆਜ਼ਾਦ ਘਰ ਖਾਲਿਸਤਾਨ ਨੂੰ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਮਜਬੂਰ ਕੀਤਾ। ਇਸ ਜੁਝਾਰੂ ਲਹਿਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਸਤਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਅਤੇ ਬੇਅੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਵਰਗਿਆਂ ਨੇ ਸਿੱਖ ਕੌਮ ਦੀ ਡਿੱਗੀ ਹੋਈ ਪੱਗ ਨੂੰ ਸਿਰ ਤੇ ਸਜਾਇਆ ਅਤੇ ਇੰਦਰਾ ਗਾਂਧੀ ਵਰਗੇ ਦੋਸ਼ੀਆਂ ਦੀ ਭਾਜੀ ਮੋੜ ਦਿੱਤੀ। ਆਓ ਹੁਣ ਆਪਾਂ ਤੀਸਰੇ ਸਵਾਲ ਨੂੰ ਵਿਚਾਰੀਏ। ਘੱਲੂਕਾਰਿਆਂ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਲੰਘਦੇ ਵੀ, ਜੰਗਲਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਰਹਿੰਦਿਆਂ ਵੀ ਖਾਲਸੇ ਦੇ ਕਿਸੇ ਦੀ ਈਨ ਨਹੀਂ ਮੰਨੀ ਅਤੇ ਹੁਣ ਦੇ ਕਿਸਾਨੀ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ ਨੇ ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਜਗ ਜ਼ਾਹਿਰ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਹੈ। ਜਦੋਂ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਸੂਬਿਆਂ ਤੇ ਹਾਵੀ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਵੇਲੇ ਬਗਾਵਤ ਦੀਆਂ ਲਹਿਰਾਂ ਉੱਠਦੀਆਂ ਹਨ। ਜਿਵੇਂ ਕਿ 1980 ਵਿੱਚ ਫਸਲਾਂ ਦੇ ਭਾਅ ਦਾ ਫੈਸਲਾ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਤੋਂ ਖੋਹ ਲਿਆ ਗਿਆ ਸੀ, ਹੁਣ ਤਾਂ ਅੱਠ ਹੀ ਕਰ ਦਿੱਤੀ ਜਦੋਂ ਕਿਸਾਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਮਾਂ ਵਰਗੀ ਜ਼ਮੀਨ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਪੈਰਾਂ ਹੇਠੋਂ ਖਿਸਕਾਉਣ ਦੀ ਕੋਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ ਗਈ। ਉਦੋਂ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਨੇ ਧਰਮ ਯੁੱਧ ਮੋਰਚਾ ਆਰੰਭਿਆ, ਹੁਣ ਪੰਜਾਬ ਨੇ ਕਿਸਾਨੀ ਮੋਰਚਾ। ਕਿਸਾਨੀ ਅੰਦੋਲਨ ਨੇ ਜਾਤ ਪਾਤ, ਭੇਦਭਾਵ, ਅਮੀਰੀ ਗਰੀਬੀ ਤੋਂ ਉੱਪਰ ਉੱਠ ਕੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਸੱਚੀ ਤਸਵੀਰ ਅੰਤਰਰਾਸ਼ਟਰੀ ਪੱਧਰ ਤੱਕ ਪਹੁੰਚਾਈ ਅਤੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਇਕਮੁੱਠ ਕਰਕੇ ਇੱਕ ਤਾਗੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਪਰੋ ਦਿੱਤਾ। ਇਸ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ ਤੋਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਸਿੱਖਣ ਨੂੰ ਮਿਲਿਆ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਸੋਸ਼ਲ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਇਸ ਯੁੱਗ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਬਹੁਤ ਵੱਡਾ ਥੰਮ ਹੈ ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਜ਼ਰੀਏ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਬਿਰਤਾਂਤ ਖੁਦ ਸਿਰਜ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ। 1984 ਵਿੱਚ ਤਾਂ ਮੀਡੀਆ ਨੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਪਿੱਠ ਦਿਖਾਈ ਸੀ, ਪਰ ਅੱਜ ਖਾਲਸੇ ਨੇ ਸੁਪਰ ਬੋਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ ਇਸ਼ਤਿਹਾਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਜ਼ਰੀਏ ਆਪਣੀ ਕਹਾਣੀ ਜਗ ਦੀ ਕਚਹਿਰੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਪੇਸ਼ ਕੀਤੀ। ਮੁੱਕਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕਿ ਜਦ ਵੀ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਇੱਕ ਨਿਸ਼ਾਨ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਹੇਠ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਹੱਕ ਹਕੂਕਾਂ ਲਈ ਸੰਘਰਸ਼ੀਲ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ, ਫਿਰ ਵੱਡੇ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਡੇ ਤਖਤੇ ਨੂੰ ਪਲਟਾ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਅਤੇ ਸਰਕਾਰ ਦੇ ਗੋਡੇ ਲਵਾ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਅਖੀਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੈਂ ਇਹੀ ਕਹੂੰਗਾ, ਚਲਤੀ ਹੈ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਜ਼ਮਾਨੇ के साथ साथ, मर्द वो होते हैं जो ਜ਼ਮਾਨਾ ਬਦਲ ਦੇਤੇ हैं। ਤੇ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਜੀ ਇਹ ਹੁਣ ਸਾਡੇ ਹੱਥ ਵਿੱਚ ਹੈ, ਜੇ ਅਸੀਂ ਜ਼ਮਾਨੇ ਨਾਲ ਭੇਡ ਚਾਲ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਰਾਹ ਆਪ ਉਲੀਕ ਕੇ ਜ਼ਮਾਨੇ ਨੂੰ ਬਦਲ ਕੇ ਰੱਖ ਦੇਣਾ ਹੈ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
ग्रेट जॉब ਅਮਰੀਕ ਸਿੰਘ। ਇੱਕ ਚੀਜ਼ ਮੈਂ ਦੱਸਣਾ ਭੁੱਲ ਗਈ ਸੀ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਬੱਚਾ ਇੱਥੋਂ ਬੋਲਦਾ ਜਾਏਗਾ ਉਹ ਚੌਰ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਦੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਕਰਦਾ ਰਹੇਗਾ ਜਦ ਤੱਕ ਕਿ ਸੈਕਿੰਡ ਬੱਚਾ ਉਹਨੂੰ ਰਿਲੀਵ ਨਾ ਕਰੇ। ਇਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਪਤਾ ਚੱਲ ਜਾਏਗਾ ਕਿ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਇਹ ਸੇਵਾ ਕੀਤੀ ਜਾਂਦੀ ਹੈ। ਬਹੁਤ ਸਾਰੇ ਬੱਚੇ ਜਾਣਦੇ ਨੇ, ਪਰ ਇਹ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੱਲ੍ਹ ਵੀ ਕੀਤਾ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਅੱਜ ਵੀ ਕਰ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ। I will give some time to judges. But in the meantime, I will ask Jobin Singh to get ready. Judges, are you ready? And I think the name is there too. Yeah? Okay. Joben Singh, Joben. So here you go, Joben Singh.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Jaswant Singh Kalra was born into a newly partitioned Punjab after an arduous fight for freedom that left many families suffering through separation and poverty. Some stories that Jaswant heard that inspired him during his childhood were Mai Bago, Baitar Singh, and Bhagat Singh. It is possible that Jaswant inherited his love of these stories from his father, or maybe even from the land of Punjab itself. I like to think it was a little bit of both. He grew up hearing the story of Mai Bago of Jabal, a woman warrior in the early 1700s who humiliated the Jali Mukte and forced him to go and beg for forgiveness from Guru Gobind Singh Ji and recognize their mistake of abandoning him. Jabal was 25 kilometers away from Kalra. The story of Baitaru Singh Ji also deeply connected with Jaswant. Baitaru Singh showed him that it would be better to sacrifice your life than lose your faith, when the Mughal governor of Punjab at the time had him scalped alive for refusing conversion to Islam. Baitaru Singh was born in Bulla, 10 kilometers away from Kalra. Bhagat Singh was a revolutionary and freedom fighter who was martyred at the age of 23 in Lahore. Lahore was less than 25 kilometers away from Kalra. There had also been many heroes born in Kalra itself. Sardar Sura Singh was a general in the army of Baba Banda Singh Bahadur. Jaswant was a descendant of Sura Singh, who had been born in the same home as him. There was one more hero that Jaswant was told stories about, that was also born in Kalra, and that was Jaswant's own grandfather, who was a Ghadar party leader who helped India gain independence from the British Empire. All of these stories about these amazing Sikh heroes and struggles he witnessed inspired Jaswant to stand up for justice. The Indian government went to great lengths to weaken the economic, social, and moral fabric of Punjab by way of federally instituted policies. This began in the mid to late 20th century, when the ethnic group, which had helped India, its motherland, in so many ways, giving their lives for independence from Britain, and even making up more than half the casualties in World War II, making up less than 2% of the population, was persecuted and attacked. We are part of this ethnic group, Sikhs. We were marginalized by the Indian government even after we had helped them so much. Our homeland was unfairly divided up by the partition, and then the Indian government divided it up even further. They stole our rivers and did not give us fair compensation. The farmers that lived in Punjab were not being given fair prices for their goods and produce. Because of these injustices, various Sikh movements in Punjab began to gain momentum, including Akali Dal and Khalistan. However, some of them were corrupted by their desire for power and forgot that Sikhs do not only stand up for injustice oppressing themselves, but injustice oppressing any ethnic group, like the Muslims or the Dalits. According to the book, Akali Dal demanded that all jurisdiction of Punjab be given to the Sikhs, when there are also plenty of Hindus in Punjab. The Indian central government also added many policies that suppressed the Sikhs and other minorities. One such policy was the Armed Special Forces Act. It empowered the Indian Armed Forces to maintain public order in areas of disturbance. Sounds good so far, right? The next part of the law enables security forces to search any premise and arrest anyone, all without a warrant. It even allowed security forces to use deadly force on suspected terrorists. And while carrying out all of these articles, they were guaranteed prosecutorial immunity. What that means is that the security forces, which includes the police and the military, can kill and arrest anyone and search anywhere without any repercussions, as long as they're a suspected terrorist. These unethical and discriminatory policies and other propaganda caused other ethnic groups to start viewing Sikhs as terrorists and extremists. That motivated young Sikhs to join extremist movements and frame the resultant geopolitical landscape. Then in 1984, Operation Blue Star occurred. The Sikh people have had a long-standing history of fighting injustice and championing social rights, even in the face of incredible odds. Two examples of this are Operation Blue Star and the recent farmers' protest. They were similar in that both movements were led by Sikhs, and in both situations, Sikhs were being unjustly targeted. As a precursor to Operation Blue Star, the government shut down all communication, expelled and intimidated journalists who tried to tell the truth, and branded freedom fighters seeking equal rights as Sikh separatists and terrorists. In this way, they were able to carry out a full-scale military operation on June 1st of that same year against 44 gurdwaras throughout Punjab, including the main assault force attacking Darbar Sahib. Thousands of innocent religious pilgrims, including children, died during this genocide. In a similar fashion, the Sikh farmers were seeking to abolish 3 new unjust agricultural laws that they say would cause them to risk losing their lands and livelihoods in the face of deregulation and deepening corporate control. Just like in 1984, the Indian government used the same playbook to try and demonize these farmers. In media reports, they were accused of being Sikh separatists and potential terrorists from Pakistan. They tried to violently suppress them, lashing out at critics in a threatening way. In Delhi, farmers were surrounded with barricades and barbed wire. They even had their internet, water, and food supplies cut off. And on top of that, several hundred farmers went missing. However, unlike in 1984, the farmers' protests were eventually successful because of the tremendous support from the international Sikh diaspora, who gave financial and economic support, and uses social media as a tool to generate awareness and express outrage. A single tweet from Rihanna, a pop star with 100 million followers, in support of the farmers' protest in 2021, created more awareness in a second than could have been done in a year in 1984. As a community, we can learn from these successes and challenges by realizing that the world is more connected than ever and leverage social media to fight any attacks on our rights and liberties in the future. We can ask our youth to be more politically active, live stream unjust events on Facebook, write books and articles online, and lastly, get support for international petitions by reaching billions of people. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Great job, Jobin Singh. The next participant that should be ready is Nehmat Kaur. Nehmat. Judges, Nehmat Kaur.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. The valiant Jaswant Singh Kalra was an incredibly inspirational person. Before reading this book, I'd never heard his name. However, now I know who he is and learned about his amazing character. His bravery, dedication, and good motives are morals we should all have. Jaswant Singh Kalra was an inspiration to me to do the smallest things as long as they're with the right motive and intention. The stories that Jaswant Singh heard from his father were about people who fought for freedom for the Sikh community. One of the stories he heard was about Sardar Sura Singh and Banda Singh Bahadur. After Banda Singh Bahadur and the Sikh army were captured and martyred, Sardar Sura Singh continued to fight. This inspired the common man to rise up and fight for tyranny. Another story he was told about was from his grandfather, Harnam Singh Kalra. Once Jaswant Singh was told the story, sovereignty, justice, and equality began to stand out to him. As a descendant to many Sikh warriors he was told stories about, he aspired to be just like them and add to his family's legacy. Jaswant Singh was born 5 years after Punjab had partitioned. Early on in his life, he witnessed many struggles that people of Punjab went through, such as Punjab keeping its rights to remain a Punjabi-speaking region, the war over Kashmir, and the Punjab Reorganization Act of 1966. This allowed Jaswant Singh to understand the hardships that the people of Punjab went through as a result of the partition. The sufferings of the people of Punjab inspired Jaswant Singh to seek justice for the Sikh Qaum. As a teen, he became very vocal and didn't hold back on what he had to say. He began his activism by leading a protest to protect the rights of poor grain-packing laborers who were denied their wages by the wealthy salespeople. From leading his first protest in high school to dedicating his entire life for people's rights, Jaswant Singh remains an inspiration to all. The Indian government imposed many policies to weaken Punjab. These policies were intended to limit the progress and growth of Punjab. One of these policies included bias against the Punjabi language. Punjab struggled to remain a Punjabi-speaking region as India began to deny that Punjabi was even a language. Sikhs identify themselves closely with the language as it's tied with the Guru Granth Sahib and the Gurmukhi script. The discrimination led to the formation of a Sikh political party called the Akali Dal. They launched a movement opposing the Indian government's opinions of this language. This movement stayed active for years, causing people to get arrested and lose their lives. Furthermore, Prime Minister Indira Gandhi's policy for the centralization of power took away a lot of control from the state government. This meant that Punjab's rights and powers were further limited. It caused more problems for Punjab on top of their land and waters being taken away. The Punjabis' response to this was the Anandpur Sahib Resolution passed in October of 1977. Last but not least, the government taking control of the Punjab's rivers was another major policy. The waters were unfairly taken without any compensation and controlled by the government of India. As these policies were put into effect, Jaswant Singh Kalra and later on Jarnail Singh Pindrawale took the responsibility of standing up against these policies. At the early age of 13, Jaswant Singh and his father asked his father not to accept the pension given by the government that engaged in policies of manipulation and discrimination. He went on to lead many protests, no matter if they were related to protecting the rights of laborers and farmers or spreading awareness about the impact of the wars between India and Pakistan on the poor. Jaswant Singh also opened the Kalra Unit Office for an organization originally founded by Bhagat Singh to help empower workers to fight for their rights. He went on to lead many such movements focused on the long-term progress and upliftment of Punjab. Sikhs have been facing challenges for the past few centuries. One of the more recent issues was the 3 farm bills produced by the government of India. Punjab grows most of the food and grains in India. The Sikh farmers have been fighting to get a fair price for their produce with the government for many years now. This same struggle goes back to when Jaswant Singh was in high school and launched a protest when he learned that the poor grain-packing laborers were denied their wages. In recent events in Punjab, thousands of farmers have come together to protest against the government policies that would further impact their ability to get a fair price for their produce and fight for their rights. This was representative of the courage and dedication Sikhs have been showing to save their rights and liberties in difficult times. As a community, we will continue to face these challenges in the future. The recent farm bills produced by the Indian government would not allow farmers to get a minimum price for their produce. Additionally, farmers would be unable to fight a legal battle if they needed. These and some more parts of the bill were meant to further impact the condition of the farmers negatively. The farmers' main goal was to stand against these biased bills and injustice. The year-long protests highlighted the strength of unity, resilience, and tolerance and focus, which resulted in victory for the farmers. This recent happening has a lot of similarities to the challenges Jaswant Singh Kalra and others faced during their time. The key lesson from the past and recent events highlight the determination of Sikhs and their ability to fight against injustice and come out victorious. I would like to conclude by focusing on the legacy of our gurus and their teachings, which form the basis for the principles we follow as Sikhs. These basic principles give us the foundation and strength we need to fight injustice while remaining in Chardi Kala. I hope we can all continue to stay inspired by the lives of not only our gurus, but also guru-inspired activists such as Jaswant Singh Kalra, to build a better tomorrow not just for Sikhs, but for entire humanity. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Great job, Nemat Kaur. Okay, judges, Sahaj Kaur.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਬੋਲ ਸੋ ਧਰਮੀੜਾ ਮੌਨ ਸਤ ਧਾਰੀ ਰਾਨ You call yourself religious. Why are you quiet? Jaswant Singh Kalra understood this call.
Over a century ago. Let's go back to 1952, to a little village called Kalra, right on the edge of the new border. 1925, तेरे दादाजी हरनाम सिंह खालड़ा एक बहुत ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੇਖ ਲਿਆ ਕਿੱਦਾਂ ਅੰਗਰੇਜ਼ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਿੱਖਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਗੁਲਾਮ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਦੇ ਸੀ ਤੇ ਉਹ ਆਪਣੀ ਆਜ਼ਾਦੀ ਲਈ ਲੜੇ His eyes must have glistened inside as he spoke about his father's revolutionary action. Must have lit up with fervor right along with his Bapuji's remarkable devotion to the valorant stories of Maipago, Bhagat Singh, and his very own ancestor Sardar Sura Singh captivated the child and instilled Sikh values into his mind. But alas, the partition and its consequences could not be ignored. And as he stood at the edge of the border, waving to his separated brothers on the other side, as the Indo-Pakistan War of 1965 wreaked havoc across his land, as he watched how people who had been brothers just 15 years ago brutally killed each other for their governments, he must have thought, Mere dadaji is halatan vaste ta nahi lade si. So he did something about it. From building the Naujwan Parth Sabha to investigating the murders of thousands of Sikh youth after 1984, Bapuji and his stories created a warrior,
of truth and justice. And such Sant Sipahis were certainly necessary in the coming years. In response to his promise of a Sikh nation before partition, Jawaharlal Nehru said, "Tab baat aur thi, ab baat aur hai." And so it was. India's switch to joint electorate in 1951 cleverly hindered the representation of Sikhs in government. Thus, the political and social demotion of the Sikhs began from legislative oppression. With the stroke of a pen, India denied the Sikhs their independent faith. And in 1956, the States Reorganization Act dictated that states would be created based upon linguistic boundaries. However, although everyone in the Pepsu region spoke Punjabi, the Indian government refused to recognize it as the official state language, meaning both the Punjabi language and culture were soon to die out. And fueled by this very threat, the Akali Dal party organized the Punjabi Suba movement to demand the recognition of Punjabi as the official language. However, this ultimately backfired with the Punjab Reorganization Act. All non-Sikh areas were coerced to list Hindi as their main language, which then divided East Punjab into 4 regions. In this way, the Indian government was effectively able to isolate the Sikhs in terms of religion, language, region, occupation, and culture. And this was a major hindrance during Indira Gandhi's centralization of power. Although all states of India did suffer, Punjab witnessed mass civil unrest and consequently mass oppression. Because the Sikhs were a majority, the state could be brutally targeted without any fear of harming the Hindu citizens. Furthermore, with partition, 2 of Punjab's rivers were already allocated to Pakistan. However, the remaining 3 were also unfairly redistributed across to the other states under the pretense of irrigation canals. Worst of all, not a single rupiah of gain from the rerouted water was paid back to Punjab. So while the land of the 5 rivers did remain the breadbasket of India, none of the farmers were benefiting substantially from their yields. And with the combined effects of restricted political representation, forced isolation, and economic injustice, the government effectively set the stage for the Anandpur Sahib resolution, followed by the Khalistani movement. So what relationships can I draw? Well, even now, all the previously repressive policies have been maintained. Punjab is still not compensated for its water. The government is extremely centralized and farmers are still underpaid. But this time, the infamous farmers' bills took it a step further and devised a convoluted way for the government-affiliated corporations to capture the common man's land. This would essentially mean that the entirety of India's agriculture was in the hands of an oppressive government. The modern-day feudalism, in the form of 3 laws, was the government's continuation of previous unjust policies, and the Kisan Morcha was the Sikh response. One of the major successes of the Kisan Morcha that we haven't really seen in prior movements was the unity and alliance between the Hindus and Sikhs. India's oppressive policies had the effect of severely polarizing these communities. However, these bills affected all farmers, meaning Hindus from Haryana and Hindus from Uttar Pradesh stood alongside the Sikhs. Because of this, the Indian government could not label the Sikhs as anti-nationalists or secessionists. In fact, the greatest success of the Kisan Morcha is that they did not allow the Indian government to censor them or their cause. The organizational strength of the movement brought together so many different people, and for the first time in many years, the Indian Sikhs and the global Sikh community came together in agreement. The masses took to social media, storming it with live videos, sensational posts, and daily updates. The kind of censorship that forced the genocides of Operations Blue Star and Woodrose to be hidden was not allowed to be implemented. However, one major challenge to the Kisans was the divisiveness within the Sikh community. Similar to the animosity between the Akali Dal and Sant Pindranwale, there seemed to be 2 agendas in the mix. One that focused solely on the farmers' bills, and one that tried to address all of the discriminatory policies against the Sikhs. Seeing this conflict between the community demoralized many during the hardest months of the Kisan Morcha, and that led to less decisive actions. However, the farmers' bills did get repealed, and so, to conclude, in order for Sikh movements to gain more momentum, There must be unity. Unity within the Sikhs, unity between Sikhs and Hindus, and unity in the global Sikh community. Begumpura sahar ko nao, dukh ando nahi tain thao. Begumpura, the city without sorrow, can only be reached through unity. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh.
Great job, Sahaj Kaur. The next one to get ready is Harkeet Singh. Judges done. Harkeet Singh, Harkeeth Singh. Yes, here you go.
Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh. Think about segregation in the 1900s. Black people were being oppressed, mistreated, and killed. And for what cause? It was for their skin color. Now what if I told you that there is another time period of oppression and mistreatment? Sikhs were being killed because of their beliefs. Jaswant Singh Kalra, born in 1952, was there to witness these times and grew up with tales about inspirational heroes from our history. There were tales of the fearless Mai Paggo, who grew up in a village not too far away from his. There were the tales of Baba Banda Singh Bahadur and his journey to becoming a true Gursikh. Some were about his family members who gave their lives for Sikhi and informed him about what the world was like during his time. Both of his grandfathers were part of the Gadar movement back in the early 1900s. These stories, provided by his Bapuji, were eventually going to guide and shape him in his devotion to Sikhi. Jaswant Singh, as a young adult, witnessed the time period of Operation Blue Star. Sikhs were being killed by Indira Gandhi and her corrupt government, along with Indian mobs that were given rewards for killing them. This led to the assassination of Indira Gandhi by her two trusted Sikh bodyguards, which triggered the anti-Sikh riots across India. These events led to Sikhs being classified as anti-nationals and as terrorists. As stupid as this sounds, it is still happening today with Muslims. They are classified as terrorists after the incident of 9/11. Jaswant Singh started working at a bank after Operation Blue Star, and during that time, he noticed many of his colleagues and his friends going missing. He was concerned, which led him to start investigating their whereabouts. This then led him to the files of the Municipal Corporation of Amritsar, which contained the names of all the Sikhs that were killed and illegally cremated by the Punjab police. One day, in 1995, Witnesses claimed that they saw Jaswant Singh washing his car moments before being arrested. The police denied all information of arresting Jaswant Singh, but then one day, evidence was found suggesting that he was being held in Taran Taran before being murdered. Governments try to get involved during times of protests and anti-government movements. This is because governments like to keep different opinions quiet so that they can rule. Punjab was protesting against various government policies, including the division of Punjab's water. The government tried to limit our culture and moral identity by suppressing our language. The government was trying to make the official language of Punjab Hindi, claiming that Punjabi was just a dialect of Hindi. This led to the Punjabi Suba movement. These types of movements shaped Punjab and started many other movements, like the Anandpur Sahib Resolution, to help gain state autonomy. There were lots of protests due to the government trying to silence Punjab. Sikhs have a long-lasting history of fighting for justice, and therefore, this is something that the Indian government should have vilified of Sikhs. One recent example of Sikhs fighting against injustice is the Indian farmer movement, or the Kisan Morcha. This was a protest against 3 anti-farmer laws passed by the Parliament of India. These laws decreased the value of their produce and their ability to sell to their desired merchants. After putting the anti-farmer laws to an end, the farmers had other demands that were eventually met. Sikhs were at the forefront of the farmers' movement. There are many things across the timeline that we can learn from Sikhs' injustice and their fight against injustice. We should always fight for what we believe in. We should always stand up against injustice, and we should always recognize Ek Onkar in everyone. Bhai Kanhaiyaji's teachings influenced the Sikhs in the farmers' movement. He provided water to all the soldiers on the battlefield, even the Mughal Empire. Just like the Sikhs served langar to the police officers, denying them of their rights and hitting them with sticks. Us Sikhs must remember our history and practice the teachings given to us. I would like to end my speech with this line from Guru Nanak Dev Ji. Sacho aure sabko upar sach achar. Vaheguru Ji ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji ki Fateh.
Great job, Harkeet Singh. And the next one is Noorpreet Kaur. Judge is Noorpreet Kaur, and that's one name, Noorpreet Kaur. You can start.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਜਦ ਸੂਰਜ ਪਹਿਲੀ ਵਾਰ ਅਸਤਨ ਲੱਗਾ ਸੀ, ਜਿਉਂ-ਜਿਉਂ ਆਪਣਾ ਪੰਧ ਮੁਕਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ, ਚਾਨਣ ਘਟ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ। ਚਾਨਣ ਘਟ ਰਿਹਾ ਸੀ, ਹਨੇਰੇ ਦੀ ਆਮਦ ਤੇ ਨਿਸ਼ਾਨ ਪ੍ਰਗਟ ਹੋ ਰਹੇ ਸੀ। ਤਾਂ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਲੋਕਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਹਾਹਾਕਾਰ ਮਚ ਰਹੀ ਸੀ ਕਿ ਸੂਰਜ ਛਿਪ ਜਾਊਗਾ, ਹਨੇਰਾ ਪਸਰ ਜਾਊਗਾ, ਕਿਸੇ ਨੂੰ ਕੁਝ ਦਿਸੂ ਨਾ ਤਾਂ ਸਾਡਾ ਕੀ ਬਣੂਗਾ। ਦੁਨੀਆ ਫਿਕਰਮੰਦ ਸੀ, ਪਰ ਸੂਰਜ ਅਸਤਿਆ ਹਨੇਰੇ ਨੇ ਆਪਣਾ ਜ਼ੋਰ ਦਿਖਾਉਣ ਲਈ ਧਰਤੀ ਉੱਤੇ ਪੈਰ ਪਾਇਆ। ਪਰ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਦੂਰ ਕਿਸੇ ਝੌਂਪੜੀ 'ਚੋਂ ਇੱਕ ਦੀਪਕ ਨੇ ਸਿਰ ਚੁੱਕਿਆ। ਉਸਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਮੈਂ ਹਨੇਰੇ ਨੂੰ ਚੈਲੰਜ ਕਰਦਾ ਹਾਂ, ਹੋਰ ਕੁਛ ਨਹੀਂ ਤਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਆਲੇ ਦੁਆਲੇ ਇਸ ਨੂੰ ਲਾਗੇ ਨਹੀਂ ਲੱਗਣ ਦਿਆਂਗਾ, ਆਪਣੇ ਆਲੇ ਦੁਆਲੇ ਤਾਂ ਚਾਨਣ ਕਾਇਮ ਕਰਾਂਗਾ। ਤਾਂ ਉਸ ਦੀਪਕ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਖ ਕੇ ਕਹਿੰਦੇ ਆ ਹਰ ਝੁੱਗੀ ਝੌਂਪੜੀ ਵਿੱਚ ਇੱਕ ਦੀਪਕ ਨੇ ਸਿਰ ਚੁੱਕਿਆ। ਤਾਂ ਦੁਨੀਆ ਹੈਰਾਨ ਰਹਿ ਗਈ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀਪਕਾਂ ਨੇ ਹਨੇਰੇ ਨੂੰ ਪਸਰ ਨੂੰ ਰੋਕਿਆ ਤਾਂ ਲੋਕ ਦੇਖ ਸਕੇ। This is how the valiant Jaswant Singh Kalra saw his Punjab, ਮੇਰਾ ਪੰਜਾਬ, ਆਪਣਾ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਪੰਜਾਬ, as the little light that never lost faith. I firmly believe ਕਿ ਜਸਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਆਪ ਇੱਕ ਦੀਪਕ ਸੀ ਜੋ ਹਨੇਰੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੂਝਦਾ ਹੋਇਆ ਕੁਰਬਾਨ ਹੋ ਗਿਆ। There's a theory, Piaget's theory of cognitive development. It has its limitations, but I wanted to bring up a point out of the theory. To Piaget, cognitive development was a progressive reorganization of mental processes resulting from biological maturation and environmental experience. He believed children construct an understanding of the world around them, experience discrepancies between what they already know and what they discover in their environment, and then adjust their ideas accordingly. When Jaswant Singh was a little kid, his father, whom he called Bapuji, would often tell stories about the Sikh Qaum. Jaswant would listen carefully, unlike his siblings. He would take these ideas and topics into deep consideration, which formed him into the person he became, how he perceived Punjab, and how he perceived the people of Punjab. It was the hunger to learn that drove him to pay such attention to the stories Bapuji told them as young kids. Jaswant Singh was born in a newly partitioned Punjab when the pain was still fresh in the hearts of loved ones that witnessed the partition. Whenever he went to his fields with Bapuji, they could see the border. The border is an ignoble outcome of a noble struggle. Bapuji often used to tell Jaswant Singh that. At that age, he didn't understand what that meant, but every time they saw, Jaswant could see the tears in his Bapuji's eyes. When you can see the pain so clearly in the eyes of someone you love, it affects you very heavily. These stories that Bapuji told Jaswant Singh lit a flame in him to become a hero, and the things he witnessed as he was growing up fueled the flame, which led him to become one of the many heroes the Sikh Qaum has seen. The government has always done discrimination against Punjab through federal policies. Punjab is the land of 5 rivers. The Indian government violated the international riparian covenants, which gave the first right of the river water to the people who lived in its basin, when they commandeered 75% of Punjab's water and directed it via canal to other states. Kisani is and always has been the backbone of Punjab's economy. More than 65% of Punjab's population depends directly on agriculture. 83% of the total geographical area is under cultivation. So to supply water for 85% of its fields, they had to use underground aquifers, depleting the emergency reserve. They were also forced to use oil and electricity for extracting underground water, which they had to either produce or purchase. This situation caused a great environmental, social, and economic crisis for its people. Kisani was becoming unviable, which caused Kisans to fall into debt they couldn't pay. But ek gal chete rakhan waliya, Punjabi kadi haar nahi mante. They fought. The struggle for the rights of Punjab came to be known as the Sikh struggle movement. The leaders of the movement asked to have the demands of the Anandpur Sahib resolution fulfilled. One of the main demands in the resolution asked for Punjab to get control of the waters that were rightfully theirs. It was a resolution for the self-determination of the state of Punjab. The government has not recognized it to this day. In the long-standing history of the people of Punjab, the people of the Sikh Qaum have always been fighting for their basic human rights and the rights of others around them. Starting way back from when Guru Gobind Singh Ji gave us Sikhs the mission of fighting against oppression and formed Khalsa. To this day, you can see that flame that Guru's lit inside of us is still burning, and the latest Kisan protest is proof of Punjab's spirit to stand against injustice. The Kisans fought against the federal policies that would have choked Punjab and eventually the whole middle class. ਪਰ ਕਿਸਾਨਾਂ ਅਤੇ ਮਜ਼ਦੂਰਾਂ ਦਾ ਹੌਸਲਾ ਕੋਈ ਨਾ ਤੋੜ ਸਕਿਆ, ਨਾ ਉਹ ਕੁਦਰਤ ਦੀ ਕਰੋਪੀ, ਨਾ ਸਰਕਾਰਾਂ ਦਾ ਜ਼ੁਲਮ। ਕਿਸਾਨ ਅਤੇ ਮਜ਼ਦੂਰ ਇਕੱਠੇ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਉਹ ਕਾਲੇ ਕਾਨੂੰਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਰੱਦ ਕਰਾ ਕੇ ਹੀ ਹਟੇ। There are many shaheeds like Bhai Jaswant Singh Kalra that sacrifice their life for the greater good. The Sikh Qaum is made up of sacrifice. Jaswant Singh Kalra could have easily lived outside of the country, he was offered Canadian citizenship. But his fight was beyond himself. He was fighting for bigger things. He went back to fight for the forgotten. He was not going to make any personal gains from this fight. He was trying to bring peace to those mothers जिन्हां दे कुखों जम्मे बच्चे उन्हां तो खोए गए सी, which forced me to think beyond materialism. I was struck in realization that I had never taken the time to actually think beyond this rat race the whole world is in. इंसान दे अंदर दा लालच ਉਹਨੂੰ ਟੇਕ ਕੇ ਬੈਠਣ ਨਹੀਂ ਦਿੰਦਾ ਤਾਂ ਜੋ ਦੁਨਿਆਵੀ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਤੋਂ ਉੱਪਰ ਉੱਠ ਕੇ ਸੋਚ ਸਕੇ. After reading about the Shahidi of Khalra Ji, it helped me think beyond. We as a community can learn so much from these sacrifices. It teaches us what Khalsa really means, what we stand for, and who we really are. We need to understand that there will always be people that do wrong, but it is our duty to stand up and stop those who do wrong by helping those who can't help themselves. Khalsa di sajna Guru Sahib ne dabbe kuchle majloom lokan di rakhiya waste ਕੀਤੀ ਸੀ. ਜਿਸ ਸਿਧਾਂਤ ਤੇ ਸਰਦਾਰ ਜਸਵੰਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਖਾਲੜਾ ਜੀ ਨੇ ਡਟ ਕੇ ਪਹਿਰਾ ਦਿੱਤਾ ਤੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਦੇ ਦੱਸੇ ਹੋਏ ਮਾਰਗ ਤੇ ਚੱਲਣ ਦਾ ਫਰਜ਼ ਸਾਡੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਆ. ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ.
Great job, Noorpreet Kaur. And now I'm going to announce just the names. Judges, you keep writing the comments. In case anybody is here, Avleen Kaur, Anup Singh, Teg Singh, Ishmeet Singh. Anybody? The last call for the fourth group. And with this, we will finish fourth group and be starting fifth pretty soon as the judges give us all the score sheets and everything. If also, I will thank judges in the meantime. Still they are writing the comments. And just to let you know, participants, if you all the participants, if you can hear me, if you have any question on the questions, then you can talk to Jupin Kaur. She's the one who made all these questions for group 4. So any questions on that? I know she's going to be in trouble, but after the score sheets are given. So the fifth group judges, I just want to check in the meantime, is Rupinder Kaur here? Okay, Gursane is, okay, the participant Gursane is here, Sirat is here, Diva is here. Okay, the participants are here, and I'm just going to see the judges. Rav Kiran, is she here? Anybody sees her? Jasprit, if you can look around for Rupinder and Jaskiran. Rav Kiran, sorry. And thank you so much, all the participants, and Jaikara for you is Bole So Nihal Sat Sri Akal.
you.
Then let's get started with the fifth group. And I can see all the three participants in here. And Sangatji, for 16 to 22 years, this year the open topic is Sarbat da Pala. And there were 3 questions. Every day, and first one is, everyday Sikhs do ardas for Sarbat da Pala. How do you define Sarbat, and who/what do you think is included in Sarbat as per Gurmat? If the purpose of life is to become one with the Kalpurk, Vaheguru, as taught to us by the Guru Sahibs in Gurbani, and as exemplified in their lives, what role does the concept of Sarbat da Pala play in our journey towards Vaheguru? So that is the first question. Second one is, charity and social justice are important ideals in Western culture. Are these concepts similar to Sarbat da Pala? Explain why or why not with references from Gurbani, the lives of the Guru, and the Sikh history from the 18th century to present time. The third question is, our great and rich Sikh heritage is full of inspiring examples of how Sarbat da Pala was put into action by the great Gursikhs of the past by following the footsteps of the Gurus. learning from them what kind of projects and platforms are potential avenues in the religious, political, and social spheres for Sikhs, both individually and collectively, to carry forward the mission of Sarbat Da Bhala. So these are the questions, 3 questions, and these kids will be answering. And I am going to take out the first name. Gursane Kaur. And I will introduce my judges in the end when all 3 girls have done their speeches. Yes, so the bells, there will be 3 bells. The one bell will be 7 minutes 30 seconds, the second will be 8 minutes, and the third will be 8 minutes 30 seconds. So after that, the time will be taken away, but that's what the timekeeper is going to do. Gur Sneh Kaur.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Sangat Ji, with the summer approaching and the pandemic restrictions lifting, journeys and trips are on our mind. The gas prices right now kind of make the journey a little expensive. Sangat Ji, the spiritual journey towards Vaheguru is expensive as well. Je to prem kalen ka chao, sirdar tali gali mere aao. The cost of this journey is literally our sir, our mind, our ego, home, and self-identity. This is a journey of love, prem, and self-realization. Love is not confined to ourselves, our family, and our community. The Gurus throughout Sikh history promoted the cause of universal well-being and social justice throughout the concept of Sarbat Da Bhala. The journey through Vaheguru is not a flight of fancy or a journey of specific tasks, appearances, and procedures. It is a journey of spiritual realization and oneness with Vaheguru. Once Sarbat Da Bhala becomes more than just a token, we can make that journey and know that we're rooted in Sikh principles, and we support initiatives such as voting rights, climate change, healthcare, equality, and more. When we support universal well-being, we are manifesting the concept of Sarbat Da Bhala. Guru Nanak taught a message of love. He saw God in love. In a true sense, his religion was love. His view was of a universal God common to all humankind, not limited to any religion, nation, race, creed, color, or gender. He saw love in plants and animals. Love the entire universe and do good to all without prejudice, preference, or discrimination. So, breaking down this wall of self-identity leads us to realize that all of humanity, the entire universe, is actually on the same journey with us. We are one with one, no difference. Toi, mohi, mohi, tohi, antar kaisa? We are one with the universe, and the universe is one with us. The Khalsa is meant to be a symbol of universal brotherhood and sisterhood, and in this sense, the use of the term Sarbat refers to all of humanity. Sarbat Da Bhala encompasses universal well-being. My journey towards Vaheguru progresses when I take action to promote Sarbat Da Bhala, such as volunteering for Khalsa Aid, raising awareness for the Kisan Morcha and sexual assault. Contributing to social justice causes are all ways that I can contribute to Sarbat Da Bhala. I'm actually currently running for senior class president at Plano East Senior High School. I hope to make the school feel like a safer place for everyone, promote mental health resources, plan more social events to boost school community, and make efforts to make the school more environmentally sustainable. Human rights and social justice are a cornerstone for Sikh belief. And Sikh history features many examples of Sikh gurus and Sikhs making countless sacrifices for the cause of religious freedom and justice. Sikh history is a living testament to the concepts of charity, social justice, and action. Sarbatapala was manifested in action when Guru Nanak's father, Kaluji, gave him some money and told him to go to town and find a profitable investment. The best investment that he could envision was taking his money and giving it to some hungry yogis. The institution of langar manifests the Sikh emphasis on giving. Guru Nanak started the practice of langar against the background of a rigid caste system. The Guru insisted that all people, rich and poor, beggars and kings, sit together on the same level and eat food that's prepared and served of people from varied social backgrounds. Langar also carried to other areas of social need and natural calamities, such as Khalsa Aid, who was also involved in relief work in Ukraine, Syria, Afghanistan, and other places throughout the world. Serving others without distinction and recognizing as all is one, no friends, no foes, Nako Beri, Nako Bagana. Bhai Kanhaiyaji illustrates another aspect of Sikh teachings and service to others. On the battlefield, he lovingly gave water to the wounded, no matter if they were a Sikh soldier or a Mughal soldier. The Guru taught that we are all equal members of a common family and that all people should have same rights. Sikh teachings are all about creating a fairer and more tolerant society and being ready to stand up for those who are weak and underprivileged, however daunting the circumstances may be. This is best illustrated by the story of the ninth Guru, Guru Tegh Bahadur. Though not a Hindu, the Guru was publicly beheaded for defending the right of Hindus to worship in the manner of their choice when they faced Mughal persecution. The Guru's Shahidi demonstrates total commitment to giving in Sikhism. The need to not only give to charity, but the need to give one's time, even one's life, to the well-being of others. We've all heard of Bhagat Puran Singh, the founder of Pingalwada, who's also a great example of this. We've all seen heartbreaking images of thousands of Ukrainian soldiers and refugees escaping from Russian armed forces to seek safety in the shelter of Poland. I feel proud seeing Khalsa Aid and other Sikh organizations upholding the value of Sarbatapala in those areas. Here in the United States and in other Western cultures, charity and social justice are essential ideas. These concepts are very similar to Sarbatapala. Whether it's the Texas valedictorian Paxton Smith, who voiced concerns about the Texas heartbeat bill, or St. Jude's Hospital, who treats children who have catastrophic diseases for free. Since a true Sikh belongs to the entire world, they consider all equal and all a creation of God. This has a message for the entire humanity. Love the entire universe and do good without prejudice, preference, or discrimination. Our gurus and other Gursikhs and faith-based groups have demonstrated Sarbatapala in actions. We have examples that root from our gurus and Sikh history. There are several platforms, projects, and avenues that we can do to support Sikhs on individual and collective levels. Some of these are related to voting rights, climate change, and refugee crises, wars, and genocides. Some other platforms that impact larger communities. And these are not limited to healthcare, refugee crises, racial injustice. Let us participate, support, and engage and initiate projects such as the Seva Food Bank, Khalsa Aid, United Sikhs, and Fateh Group, and so many more. When we can contribute to ongoing worldwide crises such as COVID by supporting groups such as the DGPC, who are putting together oxygen ventilators, and also Khalsa Aid and United Sikhs for providing relief to different communities, the war in Ukraine is a crime against humanity. Let us stand up and support, fundraising and contributing in any way and all the way that we are able to. Sangatji, let Sarbatapala not just be a token or something that's just talk. Our history shows us the way. The journey inwards to recognize the Jyoth within us and recognize all of humanity as one cannot wait. Tere Bane Sarbatapala. Vaigur Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaigur Ji Ki Fateh.
great job, Gursane Kaur. And the next one who should be getting ready, take your time, Seerat Kaur. Seerat, S-E-E-R-A-T, Seerat Kaur. Judges, did you write the name? I think I will give the... Seerat Kaur. Here you go.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. My name is Seerat Sohal, and today I will be talking to you about Sarbat Tapala. But wait a minute, what even is that? Personally, I define Sarbat Tapala as having goodwill for all of Vaheguru's creations. This encompasses every single living being, even people we deem as good and bad. By embodying Sarbat, we look past our apparent divisions and realize that we're all really one and the same. For example, let's say that you know someone named Maya, but you two disagree on everything, from politics to lifestyle, and even matters relating to Sikhi and raising a family. This makes it easy to dislike Maya. You're both opposites, so it's easy to not extend empathy to her, and to not bear any goodwill toward her. But with Sarbat Tapala, we are reminded to look past these divisions. Yes, you and Maya hold different viewpoints, but so what? She, just like you, was sent to this planet as a human being with a purpose. She, just like you, was lovingly created by and is looked after by Vaheguru. So, rather than oppose Maya because of your differences, recognize how you are still one and the same. And it's not just Maya. You are one and the same with every person on this planet. Look past your differences and see how interconnected we all are. This is where Sarbat comes in. Once you understand and truly feel this way, wishing for the welfare of others will be as natural as breathing. Because why shouldn't it be? We're all Vaheguru's creations, and we're all meant to tread upon a journey back to him. By embodying Sarbat Tapala, you will be operating at such positive emotions, the same ones that Vaheguru, a pure divine light, fully and eternally encompasses. This is why Sarbat is so important. By working towards embodying this in our daily lives, we slowly but steadily look past our ego and feel compassionate for all, a feeling that goes beyond man-made borders and allows us to operate at the emotional levels of Vaheguru and connect further with Akal Purakh. But now, let's talk about whether Sarbat Tapala is like the Western concepts of charity and social justice. According to the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, charity means, and I quote, aid given to those in need. In other words, charity is an individual donating to the less fortunate. But who exactly can this individual be? According to Andrew Carnegie, a mid-19th century American philanthropist who heavily influenced practices of charity, this individual is an affluent person who, due to moral obligation, donates part of their wealth to those who are not as well off. Although charity is a nice Western ideal, it does not involve welfare for all individuals, just those who you deem as beneath you in terms of status and wealth. That is why it is not the same as Sarbat Tapala. It is not the same as Bhai Kanhaiya Ji, who, during battles between the Mughal army and Sikh soldiers in Guru Gobind Singh Ji's time, fed and provided water to soldiers on both sides, even though the Mughals had cut off the Sikh food and water supply. Charity is not the same as Guru Har Rai Ji healing Shah Jahan's ill son, Dara Shikoh, despite Shah Jahan's hostility to the Guru. Charity is not the same as protesting farmers during the Kisan Morcha feeding hungry policemen, even though the police attacked the farmers with tear gas and water cannons. These examples may include different groups of people during different periods of time, but one thing remains the same. It all focuses on Sikhs practicing Sarbat Tapala. Social justice, on the other hand, is the fight for equal economic, political, and social rights for all. It sounds like Sarbat Tapala, but it depends on the movement. Many social justice movements deal with equality in a certain area for certain types of people, such as the disability rights movement, which supports equal opportunities for those with disabilities. While it is a noble cause and example of social justice, it is not sarbat as it concerns a specific group of people rather than all of humanity. Feminism, however, is the fight for equality in all its forms between all genders. Feminism, in fact, is also promoted by our own Gurujis. Guru Angad Dev Ji upheld education for all genders, and when Guru Gobind Singh Ji introduced the 5Ks, he made it clear that it can and should be modeled by male and female Sikhs. This shows that only all-encompassing social justice movements are examples of sarbat, according to both our definitions and Sikh history. Now, Sarbat Tapala is cool and all, but how can we spread its mission? Well, I believe that action is tied with education. To promote Sarbat, we must ensure our Sikh community has both the knowledge of this value and the tools for carrying it forward. Gurdwaras are the perfect place to start. When I lived in Houston, my local Gurdwara held biannual youth camps relating to all things Sikhi. We learned about our history, practiced gatka, played the tabla and harmonium, among other things. When this camp concluded, every child walked away with both fun memories and a greater connection to Sikhi. So what if we implement something similar in our Dallas Gurdwaras, but focus it more on Sarbat Tapala? By teaching our youth about the importance and implementation of Sarbat, we're providing them with the foundation they need to spread Sarbat's mission. Through this program, we'll also guide each child through carrying forth this value in the real world, be it through individualized projects or a collective one for the entire camp. But this can also go beyond the religious sphere. For the political and social spheres, Sikh political figures or candidates, as well as regular Sikhs like you and I, can organize campaigns relating to Sarbat Tapala. For example, we could gather clothing, food, and water and send them to places like Ukraine, where there are both Ukrainian civilians and many lost, poorly prepared Russian soldiers who all lack basic supplies. To spread the mission of Sarbat Tapala, let's fuse action with education. And what better way to start than in our own community? Let's talk about Sarbat with our youth, allowing them to understand this value and form their own thoughts on it. Let's discuss how, with our knowledge of Sarbat, we can turn our comprehension into action. And then, let's use these ideas to make them a reality. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Great job, Sirat Kaur. I know the next one, Diva knows that it's her turn. DEEVA, Diva Kaur. Do you need some time? Deva, D-E-E-V-A. Beautiful names. Ready, judges? Okay, Deva Kaur.
Guru Pyari Saad Sangat Ji, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. Sarbat Bala is a final term in the Sikh prayer Ardas and is one of the most important Sikh principles. The literal meaning is welfare of all or peace and prosperity for all. It does not mean the welfare of one's own panth, but a task for the welfare of everyone, like they are our own people, family. If we are saying Sarbat Bala but not doing it, then we are not following Gurbani. Guru Nanak Dev Ji has kept the foundation of Sarbat Bala and said that the disciple of the Guru earns his livelihood through honest, true earning. Hak halal bakoro khana. This means that there is temptation in every materialistic person to live an easy and comfortable life. Gurbani also teaches us that we can achieve enlightenment through service, good actions, devotion, and worship of one God. Our Gurus taught us that no matter our race, religion, or gender, we are all equal in the eyes of God. Sikhism teaches the full equality of men and women. The Gurus emphasize that a Sikh should live a disciplined life, engage in Nam Simran to remember God, Kirat Karo to live honestly, and Van Chako to share with others within the community. This translates into hard work, honest living, the love of all living things, and the service of God. The six Gurus believed that the greatest of evils and the worst of crimes is poverty. Thus, Guru Nanak started the institution of langar, so that nobody should sleep without food. Sikhs have followed Guru Nanak's legacy for more than 500 years. The concept of Sarbat Bala is frequently intersected with Guru Nanak Dev Ji's emphasis on service. Guru Angad, Guru Nanak's successor, established langar, or community kitchen, as a parallel practice. Langar refers to a system where people, irrespective of caste, religion, and social status, sit together on the floor and have food. The combination of seva, Sarbat Bala, and langar motivated Sikhs and Sikh organizations all over the world to unite. These ideals of acting selflessly and helping others without expecting anything in return or personal motives is not new to Sikhs, who have long aided people in need. Bhai Kanhaiya serves as an illustration of this. 3 centuries ago, Bhai Kanhaiya, a water carrier of Guru Gobind Singh Ji at Anandpur Sahib, used to give water and first aid to all wounded people, whether they were his own men or his opponents. His actions of compassion drew harsh criticism from his fellow Sikhs, who then complained to Guruji. Guruji called Bhai Kanhaiya to his darbar and said, "These brave Sikhs are saying that you go and feed the opponents and they recover to fight again. Is this true?" Bhai Kanhaiya then replied, "Yes, my Guru, what they say is true, but I saw no Mughal or no Sikh on that battlefield. I only saw human beings. Have you not taught us to treat all of God's people as the same?" Guruji was very pleased with his reply. He smiled and said, "Bhai Kanhaiya, you are right. You have understood the true message of Gurbani," and then told the Sikhs who had complained that Bhai Kanhaiya had understood the deeper message of Gurbani and that they should strive to learn lessons from the priceless words. "Na ko beri, nahi begana, sagal sang, humko ban ai." No one now is my enemy, nor is anyone a stranger to me. I am the friend of all. People may appear to be different because of their language, skin color, or sexual behaviors, but we all share the same spirit inside. People's outer appearance can be diverse, but we are still human beings created by the same God. Over these years, Sikhs have continued to serve communities endlessly. Many Sikh organizations are found on the basis of making the world a better place, and Sikhs practice the concept of seva and Sarbat Bala on a daily basis. These values are deeply rooted in the foundation of Sikhi. The importance of globalization at the turn of the century also resulted in the establishment of many prominent Sikh non-profit organizations, like Khalsa Aid, United Sikhs, and many more. These organizations help those impacted by natural or man-made disasters, like war, floods, and earthquakes. They have frequently been the first ones on the scene to assist with the distribution of food, water, clothing, and medical supplies. seva comes in different forms as it continues to help people in first world countries. Hurricane Harvey, a Category 4 hurricane, struck the U.S. states of Texas and Louisiana in 2017. The Houston area received the worst of the destruction, with a large portion of the city submerged for days and unfit to live in for days and even weeks. Sikhs from throughout the country jumped into action, donating thousands of materials, offering their time, preparing meals, and providing food to those impacted by the hurricane. Other examples of Sikh Seva is how they contributed during COVID-19, the Indian farmers, and even during the Ukraine and Russian war. When a devastating second wave of COVID struck earlier this year, crippling the health system in many cities, a number of Sikh charity organizations were among the first to respond, with hundreds of volunteers assisting the victims by providing services for several communities that were unable to access aid from government resources. Sikhs began delivering oxygen and langar to extremely ill patients in a number of locations, including gurdwaras. The Indian farmers' protest of 2020-2021 was in response to 3 agricultural laws passed by India's parliament. Sikh farmers led and organized the protest, and it is apparent that the Sikh faith fuels and guides their actions. Sikhs are no strangers to protest. It has always been a part of our history, both past and present. When Brahmins complained to Guru Tegh Bahadur about Mughal Emperor Aurangzeb's mistreatment of them, Guru Tegh Bahadur chose to protest on their behalf. The Gurus urged Sikhs to follow their lead and live life as saint soldiers, fighting for justice, regardless of the cost. Surrounded by increasing chaos and resistance in Ukraine following Russian invasion, many people are trying to escape the country. To help, members of Khalsa Aid have been seen serving food to people on trains, calling it langar on train. Gurdwaras and temples in Poland are also coming out with food and shelter to help the stream of tired students reaching Poland en route to their journey back home. Sikhs have demonstrated resilience and had a global political, economic, and social result as their seva, with their faith providing guidance. While more people are discovering about Sikhs because of their seva, we are only carrying on Guru Nanak's 500-year-old legacy. I would like to end my speech by saying a line from Ardas. Nanak Naam, Chardi Kala, Tere Bane, Sarbat Tapala. Supreme is the word of God, and may Vaheguru bless everyone. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Great job, Diva Kaur. So, ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਮੈਂ ਸੰਗਤ ਨੂੰ ਕਵਾਂਗੀ 10 ਮਿੰਟ ਦੀ ਬ੍ਰੇਕ ਲੈ ਲਓ ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਇਹ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟ ਤਿਆਰ ਹੋਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇੰਨਾ ਕੀ ਟਾਈਮ ਚਾਹੀਦਾ ਆਈ ਥਿੰਕ ਚਾਹ ਤੇ ਸਨੈਕਸ ਹੈਗੇ ਨੇ ਬਾਹਰ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਣੇ 10 ਤੋਂ 15 ਮਿੰਟ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਾਪਸ ਆ ਜਾਇਓ ਤੇ ਫਿਰ ਅਸੀਂ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟ ਡੈਕਲੇਰੇਸ਼ਨ ਕਰਾਂਗੇ ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਦੱਸ ਦਈਏ ਕਿ 5th ਗਰੁੱਪ ਦੇ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਜੱਜਸ ਸੀਗੇ on my left side is Rupinder Kaur, in the middle is Jeevan Singh, and on the right side is Rav Kiran Kaur. They are busy writing their comments, so that's why they're just there. But thank you judges, thank you participants, and thank you parents and volunteers. We will see you back in 15 minutes. Sat Sri Akal. Thank you, Jaskiran, for reminding that. Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. And of course, our Jasbir Kaur, timekeeper. Always I forget it. Right, Jasbir? ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ ਤੇ ਆਈ ਨੋ ਸਾਰੇ ਜਣੇ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਹੁਣ ਬਹੁਤ ਹੀ ਈਗਰ ਹੋ ਆਪਣੇ ਰਿਜ਼ਲਟਸ ਸੁਣਨ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਐਂਡ ਬਟ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਮੈਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਵੀ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਸੀਗਾ ਕਿ 4th ਗਰੁੱਪ ਦੇ ਕੁਐਸਚਨਸ ਆਪਣੇ ਡੈਲਸ ਦੀ ਜੁਪਿਨ ਨੇ ਬਣਾਏ ਸੀਗੇ ਜੁਪਿਨ ਕੌਰ ਨੇ ਤੇ just a few points I want her to talk about ਕਿ judging ਕਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੁੰਦੀ ਹੈ ਜਾਂ what she has learned in her years of experience. I think she participated till 2010 or 11 and then has been participating in either judging or making the questions and different kind of things that she can talk about to this older group, 4th and 5th group. So she's going to come and say a few words before we make the announcement. And Bhai Sahib is already here, so it will be short and sweet. Okay? Here's his Chupin card.
Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh. I, like my mom already mentioned, I know this is a portion of the program where you guys are really just waiting for me to be done talking, so I won't take up too much time. But I do want to say a couple of things, especially, and this really applies to group 4 and 5 specifically because you guys are a little bit older. And so, like she mentioned, with my perspective having competed and then now not only working on judging but also working on creating the questions, one of the things I really do want to emphasize for all of you is that you are at an age now where reading the book that is provided for group 4, I know group 5 doesn't get a book, but that is more just to kind of stimulate your thought process, right? So your responses to these questions are expected to be far less about regurgitating facts and far more about really processing the information that's provided to you, extrapolating from that, and spending some time kind of on your own ruminating on what information you've been given, and then developing some creative and original ideas. Because I think what we are all looking for in the Sikh community to the youth is that you guys are able to come up with new, creative, original ideas as to how we can address these long-standing problems we have had, not only in the Sikh community back home in Punjab and in India, but really in the diaspora, right? How do we address these problems that we face, not only on a daily basis, but also these issues that come up occasionally, whether it's the farmers' protests, things like that. So what I encourage you to do is, especially once you get the book and you've read through it once, have conversations with your friends, with your peers. Discuss these things whenever you can. Gurdwara is a wonderful way to develop this sangat, and it's not always just about sitting in Diwan Hall and listening to Kirtan, listening to Gurbani, and although that's a big part of it, I think so much of what we want you guys to focus on is how do we take what we're learning from a religious and a spiritual standpoint and apply it in a practical way where we can solve some of these problems that we are seeing. And so really that's the focus of group 4 and 5. And so many of you did a wonderful, beautiful job of really providing your perspective, which is what we are all seeking because that's what we're lacking right now. And so take some time over the next couple of weeks and couple of months to, you know, use these questions that are given to you guys to spur some discussion amongst you and your friends to see how can we come up with something that's new, original, and novel. And I think that will serve you really well, not only for the symposium, because this is so much more than just about who wins first, second, or third place and who goes on to the next level of competition. This is really about spurring some change in our community, and I'm hoping that that's the lesson that you're taking from this. And, you know, it's something that we say every single year, but I think it is worth repeating because it's important, is that again, the placement results here sometimes are, you know, can be discouraging for some participants. And I don't want you to think that your worth is dependent on how you place, how you perform, or anything like that. We can all, who have participated in symposium in prior years, we can all vouch for the fact that the lessons that we've learned and the value that we have retained from symposium does not at all rely on how we placed or how we performed, and really is a matter of learning how to think about Sikhi, learning how to think about Sikhi not only in a spiritual, religious way, but a practical way, and forming relationships not only with others in our peer group, but also forming a relationship with our Guru in a way that is unique to us as individuals. So I hope you focus on that. And again, after today, please feel free to reach out to, you know, my mom certainly will have some comments and is able to provide some feedback based on what the judges have remarked upon. But also going forward, you know, we're always happy to have conversations with you guys about what can we do for our community, how can we learn to think about these problems, and how can you guys apply these sorts of solutions going forward. So just with that, please be very proud of how you guys have all done, because we're always impressed year after year. And you guys are doing a wonderful thing that I think will serve you very well in all aspects of your life going forward. And so with that, Vaheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Vaheguru Ji Ki Fateh.
Thank you, Jupin Kaur. So hopefully some of you, if you want to reach her, that will be okay. You can call me anytime and we can go forward. So group 4, we have, if we have the judges, they can come here with Paisab, and we can give do the prize distribution here. Penji, tusi Tejpal, Penji, tusi aa sakde ho, and if Jaspal is here, she's gone. Yeah, so you can come here. Okay. So I am, yeah, Penji no want the name. So again, remember everybody, it does not matter who scored what. What matters is that you were better than last time, that you are competing against yourself. So the group 4, the first participant, I start with the participant, and always remember, I go with the names like from A, B, C, D, so there is nothing like that you were the last or you were the first one, it's just with the names, the first letter. The participant is Harkeet Singh. So, Sat Sri Akal. Sat Sri Akal. The participant, the next one in group 4 is Nehmat Kaur. Sat Sri Akal. Sat Sri Akal. The next participant in group 4 is Noorpreet Kaur. Sat Sri Akal. And we will give her the Punjabi, she spoke in Punjabi, so Punjabi gift and the participation gift. Yeah. Sat Sri Akal. And group 4, third place is Jobin Singh. Sat Sri Akal. Sat Sri Akal. Second place and Punjabi speaker Amrik Singh. Sat Sri Akal. He got the best of it. Sat Sri Akal. The first place, Sahaj Kaur. Sat Sri Akal. Sat Sri Akal. So that was group 4, and the group 5, Ravkiran, you can come too. Rupinder Benji. Is Rupinder here? Yes. So in group 4, as you know, that there will be only one person going to the regional, and I feel so bad. I wish it was the 2 places, but Sahaj Kaur, I will be talking to you later. Okay, so group 5, 3rd place is Gursane Kaur. Sat Sri Akal. Sat Sri Akal. Group 5, 2nd place, Diva Kaur. Sat Sri Akal. Sat Sri Akal. And the first place in group 5 is Sirat Kaur. Sat Sri Akal. Sat Sri Akal. So, Sirat, you will be going to the next regional, and we will let you know when it is next time. Thank you. And Pai Saab, if you want to say something, ਤੁਸੀਂ ਵੀ ਕਹਿ ਸਕਦੇ ਹੋ ਕੁਝ ਕਹਿਣ ਵਾਸਤੇ. ਤੇ thank you, judges. And I feel like Rav Kiran is our youngest judge here in 5th group, but she has participated many times in 5th group, so remember that. Okay, here comes the Pai Saab.
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਗੁਰਪ੍ਰਸਾਦੀ ਵਿਦਿਆ ਵਿਚਾਰੇ ਪੜ ਪੜ ਪਾਵੈ ਮਾਨ। ਬਹੁਤ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਉਪਰਾਲਾ ਹਰ ਸਾਲ ਭੈਣ ਜੀ ਹਰਦੀਪ ਕੌਰ ਮੱਲੀ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੀ ਪੂਰੀ ਟੀਮ ਜੋ ਵਲੰਟੀਅਰ ਨਾਲ ਨੇ, ਟੀਚਰਸ ਨੇ, ਜੱਜਸ ਨੇ ਔਰ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ ਵੀ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਉਪਰਾਲਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਆਪਣੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਜੋ ਲੈ ਕਰਕੇ ਆਉਂਦੇ ਨੇ, ਮਾਂ ਬੋਲੀ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਗੁਰ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਜੋੜਨ ਦਾ ਇਹ ਬੜਾ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਉਪਰਾਲਾ ਹੈ। ਆਪਣੇ ਟਾਈਮ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਟਾਈਮ ਕੱਢ ਕਰਕੇ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਗੁਰਬਾਣੀ ਦੀ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ, ਗੁਰ ਇਤਿਹਾਸ ਦੀ ਜੋ ਸਿੱਖਿਆ ਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ। ਇੱਕ ਫੁਲਵਾੜੀ ਹੈ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਦੋਂ ਆਪਣੀ ਆਪਣੀ ਹੋਂਦ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਉਣਾ ਤੇ ਬਹੁਤ ਸੋਹਣੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਖੁਸ਼ਬੂ ਉਹ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੇਣੀ ਹੈ। ਕੋਈ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿਸ ਬੱਚੇ ਨੇ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਤਰੱਕੀ ਕਰਨੀ ਹੈ, ਕਿੱਥੇ ਜਾਣਾ ਹੈ, ਕਿੱਥੇ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਰਹਿਣਾ ਹੈ। ਜਿੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਉਹ ਜਾਣਗੇ ਉੱਥੇ ਸੁਗੰਧੀ ਫੈਲਾਣਗੇ। ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਗੁਰੂ ਨਾਨਕ ਦੇਵ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਜੀਵਨ ਦੀ ਇੱਕ ਘਟਨਾ ਜੋ ਹੈ, ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੂੰ ਵੱਟੇ ਮਾਰੇ, ਬੁਰਾ ਭਲਾ ਆਖਿਆ, ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਵਸਦੇ ਰਹੋ। ਔਰ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਓ ਭਗਤ ਕੀਤੀ, ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਉੱਜੜ ਜਾਓ। ਤੇ ਭਾਈ ਮਰਦਾਨਾ ਜੀ ਪੁੱਛਣ ਲੱਗੇ ਵੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਵੀ ਜਿਨ੍ਹਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪ ਜੀ ਦੀ ਸੇਵਾ ਕੀਤੀ ਹੈ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਉੱਜੜ ਜਾਓ, ਔਰ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵੱਟੇ ਮਾਰਦੇ ਰਹੇ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਕਿਹਾ ਵੀ ਵਸਦੇ ਰਹੋ, ਇਹ ਕੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ? ਤੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਸਮਝਾਉਣਾ ਕੀਤਾ ਵੀ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਗੰਦ ਹੈ, ਜਿਹੜਾ ਮਾੜਾ, ਜਿਹਦੇ ਮਾੜੀਆਂ ਵਿਚਾਰਾਂ ਨੇ, ਉਹ ਇੱਕ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਹੀ ਰਹਿਣ ਤੇ ਠੀਕ ਹੈ। ਔਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਖੁਸ਼ਬੂ ਹੈ, ਜਿਹਦੇ ਅੰਦਰ ਗੁਰੂ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਹੈ, ਚੰਗੇ ਵਿਚਾਰ ਨੇ, ਉਹ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਜਗ੍ਹਾ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਜਾਣਗੇ ਤੇ ਖੁਸ਼ਬੂ ਫੈਲਾਉਣਗੇ। ਸੋ ਅੱਜ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ਾਂ ਦਾ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਚੱਲਦਾ, ਪਰ ਜਦੋਂ ਜਦੋਂ ਬੱਚੇ ਵੱਡੇ ਹੋਣਗੇ, ਆਪਣੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਾਂ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਵਿਚਰਨਗੇ, ਇਹ ਖੁਸ਼ਬੂ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਦੀ ਕਿੱਥੇ ਪਹੁੰਚੇਗੀ। ਔਰ ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਰਹਿਮਤ ਕਰਨ, ਬੜਾ ਸੋਹਣਾ ਉਪਰਾਲਾ ਕਰਦੇ ਨੇ। ਮੇਰੀ ਵੀ ਗੁਰੂ ਚਰਨਾਂ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਰਦਾਸ ਹੈ, ਮਹਾਰਾਜ ਸੱਚੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ, ਇਹਨਾਂ ਪਰਿਵਾਰਾਂ ਨੂੰ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਵਲੰਟੀਅਰ ਨੇ, ਜਜਸ ਨੇ, ਸੱਚੇ ਪਾਤਸ਼ਾਹ ਸਭਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਨ ਜੀ। ਸੋ ਬੱਚਿਆਂ ਜੀ ਜੋ ਹੌਸਲਾ ਅਫਜ਼ਾਈ ਜੀ, ਆਪ ਜਕਾਰਾ ਬੁਲਾਈਏ, ਬੋਲੇ ਸੋ ਨਿਹਾਲ। ਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਕਰਨ, ਚੜ੍ਹਦੀ ਕਲਾ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਸ਼ ਕਰਨ ਜੀ। ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਸੰਗਤ ਜੀ, ਸੋ ਇਹ ਸਾਡਾ ਲੋਕਲ ਸਿੰਪੋਜ਼ੀਅਮ 2022 ਸਿੰਘ ਸਭਾ ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਰਿਚਰਡਸਨ ਦਾ ਅੱਜ ਸਮਾਪਤ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ। ਇਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਜੋ ਬੱਚੇ ਹੁਣ ਰੀਜਨਲ 'ਚ ਜਾਣਗੇ, ਉਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਕੰਪੀਟੀਸ਼ਨ ਐਂਡ ਆਫ ਮੇ ਵੀ ਵਿਲ ਸੈਟ ਅਪ ਦਾ ਡੇਟ। ਇੱਥੇ ਜਾਂ ਯੂਲਸ ਜਿੱਥੇ ਵੀ ਹੋਏਗਾ ਅਸੀਂ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਦੱਸਾਂਗੇ। ਪਰ ਐਨੀ ਪੇਰੈਂਟਸ, ਐਨੀ ਪਾਰਟੀਸਪੈਂਟ ਯੂ ਵਾਂਟ ਟੂ ਟਾਕ ਟੂ ਮੀ, ਟੇਕ ਮਾਈ ਫੋਨ ਨੰਬਰ ਬਿਫੋਰ ਯੂ ਗੋ, call me, strike me tomorrow. Tomorrow is the best day, or this evening too. After that, I might not be available for a couple of days, but if you have any questions, call me. And then give me a break for 1 week, and then I will be back again, okay? And I have to tell you, 4th group and 5th group, please hang in there. We need each and every one of you. You guys have unique qualities, you know? And this is the group that I cherish the most, because these are the leaders that we are looking for, okay? And the kids who are speaking Punjabi, ਬੱਚੋ ਤੁਸੀਂ ਅੱਗੇ ਪਤਾ ਨਹੀਂ ਕਿੰਨਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੋਰ ਗਾਈਡ ਕਰਨਾ ਹੈ ਔਰ ਕਿੰਨਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਅੱਗੇ ਸਿਖਾਣਾ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਕਿ ਪੰਜਾਬੀ ਸਾਡੀ ਮਾਂ ਬੋਲੀ ਕਿੰਨੀ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ। So that is a winning, and that is why a special gift is given. Of course, the money cannot replace what you are learning. So please, Punjabi speakers, keep speaking, and that does not affect your judgment. ਇਹਦਾ ਯਾਦ ਰੱਖਿਓ। ਪਰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਮੈਂ ਫੇਰ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ ਕਹਾਂਗੀ, ਗੁਰਦੁਆਰਾ ਸਿੰਘ ਸਭਾ ਦੀ ਕਮੇਟੀ, ਮੇਰੇ volunteers, participants, and then parents, judges, timekeeper, score sheet ਨੂੰ ਬੈਲਨ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲੇ, ਸਾਰੇ results ਤਿਆਰ ਕਰਨ ਵਾਲੇ, each and every one. It's not one person that is responsible for this big project. It's each and every one of us. And if we have done for 21 years, we can do for 21 plus more years, as many we want to do it. But please, if your kid registers, bring them to the podium and say, we don't care even if you say your name, that's fine too. And do not compete with each other, like Jupin said too. Compete what you have done in the past, right? How good I was last time, how I am doing right now, okay? And please don't get disappointed, because your cries, I do hear it. You don't know the day of symposium, how anxious I am. I cannot sleep the whole night. Not that how this program will run. It's just because I feel like what you are feeling, how anxious you are. So this is all of us a passion to teach you Sikh Itihas, and we are going to win it together. It does not matter which position you come. Please don't leave us just for the placement, okay? And with this, I should be saying bye, otherwise I can speak forever. I will miss you again, but we will be back again in November and October, November of this year for all the other participants. And ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਦਾ ਬਹੁਤ ਬਹੁਤ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ, ਤੇ ਗੁਰੂ ਦਾ ਸਭ ਤੋਂ ਵੱਡਾ ਧੰਨਵਾਦ ਜਿਨੇ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਹੁਕਮ ਮੰਨਣ ਦਾ ਬਲ ਬਖਸ਼ਿਆ ਤੇ ਸਾਡੇ ਤੋਂ ਇਸ ਸੇਵਾਵਾਂ ਲਿੱਤੀਆਂ ਨੇ। ਇਹਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ, ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ।